Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Virtual Racing Compound. My name is Hasse Rømer, joined by Jack Werrell for the season finale of the Sunday GT Masters Season 3, brought to you, of course, by Grid Engineering and SIMRACER Coin as well. And we're at Sebring, Jack. We've got a very, very close drivers' title race, if you will. Still 4 drivers in very close contention. I think we're in for an absolute ball of a race here tonight.
Yeah, we are. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for having me back in the commentary box, Hasse. It's an absolute pleasure. And like you say, we're here in Florida, here for the final round of Season 3, the 34th ever Sunday GT Masters race. And it's still all to play for. Both the Pro and the AM Championships still aren't settled. The Pro being closer than the AM. There's still, 4 drivers? 5 if it's a very eventful round. Fingers crossed it won't be, but there's still 4 drivers well and truly in contention for the championship. And we've got a couple of drivers missing this evening. However, it won't take away from the great racing that is to be expected in this championship.
Absolutely not. And I think, Jack, we'll just start out having a look at the standings coming into this round for the drivers here. Here is the aforementioned pro driver standings. As you can see, Remco Barlow coming from a backseat, you could say, over the final half or the final third of the season even, but very consistent results. He now leads it by 4 points ahead of Chris Boland, who has missed a round as well. He's on 182 points, tied with Nicolas Cucato, and then a further 4 points down to Gaston Meseroni. And that's the 4 drivers that are very, very much still in contention. And as Jack said as well, it would take quite a lot of stuff going wrong, but Pete Plastow could come from the shadows as well. There we got Martin de Jong in 6th. Matthew Forrest in 6th, Martin de Jong in 7th. Nick McLaughlin in 8th place, ahead of Osman Sert and Nuno Vinagre. And with that said, Jack Werrell, it's time for you to take us through the AM class standings.
Thank you very much, Hasse. So on to the AM class standings. It's the top 2 that we really need to pay attention to. Giambattista Giacetti for Team Gabbiano. Not too far adrift, not too far in front, only 9 points ahead of Cody Steig on 188, sat there in 2nd place. Craig Thompson, while still within touching distance, again, it would take something very serious to go wrong for everybody else for him to take top honours in the AM standings, but he's sat in 3rd on 172 points. 2 points back is Orkan Kolak, followed by Matthew Maddox rounding out your top 5. Then it's Stephen Orrell, Chris Pio, Sander Kaffer, Matt Sisseler, Alfredo Tricarici, and you can see everybody else making up towards the tail end of the AM Championship standings, Hasse. And it's not only the championship winner that we're looking at, it's also those in the mid-pack. It's still all to play for. We're looking at drivers tied on points, some drivers with 1 point, 2 points, 3 points separating them. So it's not only those big hitters at the top end of the championship standings, it's those mid-pack battles, and sometimes it's inter-team rivalries, sometimes it's inter-class rivalries, and sometimes it's just drivers in this great paddock that have become the best of friends and are now fighting over a championship position. So it's really good to see how close the championship is, and we've still got one more round to go.
Yeah, and with that said, I think it's something that has happened on every single season we've had so far of the Sunday GT Masters, Jack, that it's actually managed to come down to the final round just as it's doing here tonight. And it's one of the things that I've loved on commentating throughout the life of this series, and something that's really bound me to it. I feel like if it keeps on going, I'm gonna become inseparable from this Indian. I'm gonna be clinging on to it, nails, teeth, and claws. Jack Werrell, I bet you we're in for a great one tonight. I hope it's not gonna be too much of a shocker. We have seen shockers before. Last season, dare I say, Pete Plastow, final round, just a few minutes remaining, and he gets taken out by a back marker in traffic. And that lost him the chance of winning the overall title in Season 2. And he isn't theoretically within reach, but it would require a lot of... I was just about to call it karma, but it's hardly even karma. Is it more of a reversal of fortunes, as a lot of cones are seeing their fortunes running out?
Yeah, Pete, just making sure the track limits are well and truly open. pretty much bump drafting his virtual racing compound teammate down the start-finish straight. So just in front of him is, of course, Chris Roberts, moving to that Mercedes, and it's a beautiful sounding car. So there's 3 VRC cars, all nose to tail. Matthew Forrest leading the trio. Chris Roberts is the meat in the sandwich, and then you've got Pete Plastow just sat at the tail end of the first. And of course, as you mentioned, Hasse, and as they have been all season, the Sunday GT Masters powered by Grip Engineering and SIMRACER Coin. A little bit about both of those guys. Grip Engineering brings experience and methodology from real world championships like the World Rally Championship, Formula E, just to name 2, and they bring all of that to your sim rig, giving you the same tools as the real professional drivers do. So that includes sort of live analysis of your driving on board with your telemetry as well, and adapting and optimizing your setup just to fit your driving style. So it's very much a tailored experience and well and truly worth a go. And what's even better, Hasse, is saving a little bit of money. So on your first introductory session, you get a 20% discount as well. So if you're looking at getting sort of quicker and more consistent and learn a little bit more about your car, that is definitely the way to do it at Grip Engineering. Martin de Jong, maybe we should recommend that service.
Looks like he could need it, but I think he's also just grown a little bit frustrated with racing the Ford GT this season. He did it as sort of it was a bit of a joke for him from the beginning of the season, and I think the funny part of the joke, as it does with jokes, they tend to wear off on you, don't they? And at the end, they tend to just have a tendency to maybe even just become rather annoying in the end, and that might be what Martin's feeling about the Ford GT nowadays. He's now finding himself in a Lamborghini. I think he will be back for Season 4, but I would be very surprised to see Martin de Jong behind the wheel of a Ford GT for yet another season. And definitely, generally so, I think we might see a few of the drivers cling on to the old machine, but it's very much legacy by now, and with the way it handles as well, it's a tricky machine to drive, and it's not been something to bring wonders to anything but yourself, basically, Jack Werrell. I think the only Ford GT victory, if I recall correctly, and I might be wrong, of course, and do please correct me out there if you seem to remember something that I don't, but to my knowledge, Jack, I think the only victory we've had for the Ford GT came from you at Daytona, right?
I think so. I know we've had a couple on the podium, but I think the season 2 at Daytona, myself in the Ford GT, I think that was the only one. But they have been fairly competitive. Somebody I want to keep my eye on this evening, Chris Pio. He is in a car that we don't usually see, and that doesn't get much rep, but I absolutely adore this car, known as the Flamethrower, as we will see in a few moments' time if we get a tail end shot heading in towards the hairpin. We won't get it this time by, at least on my camera.
Oh yeah, there it is. There it is.
There we see it. There's all of the flame. It's a very pretty car. Sounds amazing. It's grown out now. I'm sure whether it be this season or the following season on iRacing, we will end up with an updated version, the 720S. I'm sure that will come along. Or the 750S even. There's lots of different variants that they can use. But the MP412C, a very, very pretty car, and it's a shame they don't get driven as much. But it's just old technology now, and they can't keep up with the massively up-to-date, almost spaceship-like GTs, the Evo variants, and some of them are moving from standard GT3s to Evos, whilst other ones that are already Evos are moving to Evo 2s, like the Honda NSX that has recently just received an update, and that is now become an Evo 2 variant. So they're getting quicker and quicker and more technologically advanced. And these older cars, while they look and sound amazing, they're beautiful to look at, of course, they just can't keep up.
No, they're having a hard time, but the McLaren is a great car if you really get yourself in tune with it, and a great setup is going to help it a lot. It does have a lot of potential. Potential to be quick, but also potential to be a little bit unruly. I actually spoke to Chris Pio coming into the race here, and he was mentioning he wasn't going to be in the Ford GT. He was also mentioning that the choice was between this car and another one, and I just happened to tell him that there's always bonus points from us commentators choosing the Flamethrower. Indeed, we're glad to see it out there. It's great to see an appearance for the McLaren. That is a rare occasion, something we haven't seen. It's been driven pretty consistently throughout the series by various drivers. Rob the Lobster has been behind the wheel of one as well, but I think several of the drivers that have been wielding this car as well have been finding it a bit of a heartbreaker, especially because it's one of those machines that can really go well until it doesn't. Let's hope it's not the case here. Now I'm jinxing it, am I not? Let's see here. Anyway, Timothy Vanderbroek, he's out and he's well going here on his first flying lap. Fellow Dutchman Martin de Jong getting well out the way. And Chris Boland with an early quick lap there. Tricorici, I don't think that was going to be what he was aiming for with a 2:01.8 Sasso. Pros and about 0.2 off of the early pace of Chris Boland. And there comes Matthew Forrest. The new fastest lap of a 1:58.262. We're gonna go on board now with the BMW of Timothy Vanderbroek and a lap of Sebring. Difficult first corner here, very quick. You want to ease off the throttle softly on the... and that's exactly what you just might find happening there. Let's see if Timothy's gonna go the distance around here. I don't think he is. He's gonna call it off. It's not the first time we've had this happen, Jack, is it? We're gonna see if we can find someone else here. Oh, perfect timing here as Matthew Forrest joins the track just where it went wrong for Vanderbroek here. Now into Christensen corner, of course. The corner named after Le Mans winner, 9-time Le Mans winner, Tom Christensen. Matthew Forrest wasn't gonna be on it for this lap, but we might get a look at the track anyways. The Big Bend, it's a bit of a straight bend, if you will, and under normal circumstances should be going flat out down here.
It's just our luck, Hasse. As soon as we think, oh, we'll have a look. I'm curious, if we do get an external camera, is there a car behind him that he's trying to let by and he's just being stubborn? I don't know whether I saw Pete Plasto behind him, but it seemed like, yeah, there is Pete Plasto behind him, and Pete's like, no, I'm going to sit behind you. So Pete's just more than happy sitting behind Matthew Forrest at the moment. Now through the very quick right-hander, 90-degree right, before you've got to ease the car in through the left. Try and keep it balanced as best you can and keep some load going through the car. You can take a half lift, but nothing too much more. And bouncing over the curb on the inside, try and avoid that as best you can. Don't run the car wide, and then it's flat out all the way through here. Get the car right over to the right-hand side. Use as much curb on the left as you dare. Then keep it tucked in as best you can, right up to that white line. On the brakes, down a couple of gears, all of the curb on the inside, and plus a bit of concrete before the quick flick left, and then right, all of the concrete you can get away with there. Don't wash wide, it's so easy to wash wide. Grab the grass and just lose all the time you may have made up. Forrest on an outlap this time by, it says on the timing, so either trying to let Pete Plasto by again. I'm guessing Pete's just being quite stubborn in his way, saying no, I'm going to sit behind you. So Pete still behind Matthew Forrest, right out towards the exit of the circuit, down a couple of gears, and will not punch the throttle as early as I thought, so a potentially slower start to the lap than we were expecting. Osman Sert retaking to the circuit. That's somewhat of a slapdash version of the Sebring circuit. We got it all working, all with the pair of them slowing down to pick up Chris Roberts and then all help each other, but looking now, leaving the pit lane and missing pit exit. Two of the Apex Tech cars, and one of them managing to continue on. I'm guessing it could have been Cody Steig. Yes, it was. Well spotted, Hasse. So the 555 on the way through saw all of the traffic approaching and thought, what do I do? We'll just go onto the gravel. Best way to do it. And Chris Roberts very lucky not to lose the tail end of his car as well.
Yeah, indeed. Our new it's a new livery for Osman Sert there. Very nice looking in the racetrack notes app. Does that say, is that back Marcus? Might be a new... I've noticed there has been a few drivers that are seemingly rocking, if not at least just new liveries, then what might be the coming team changes that we're going to see next season in full. And I think Virtual Racing is one of those teams indeed.
Yeah, I think a rebrand of Virtual Racing, that or both Gaston Maceroni and Nicholas Cacato have decided to part ways with Virtual Racing. I doubt it. They seem to have a really good relationship, so I'm guessing it's just a bit of a rebrand. Very pretty livery on that car. There is Alfredo Tricorici. You can see Similar livery, just with orange flashes. That's the way you can pick between him. Gaston Maceroni does have the same livery, but with lighter blue flashes. I think Nicholas Cacato, when he takes to the circuit, he's got Dayglow green flashes, but we'll see once again, riding on board with the beautiful sounding Audi R8, the V10 version of this car. I think they did it in a V8, but the V10 sounds that much better. Of course, rear engine or mid-engine. So one of the general characteristics of this car, Hasse, I think you will more than likely agree with me. Same with the Lamborghini. It can be a very quick car, very competitive, but you slowly start to overdrive it, push it that little bit too hard, and you'll find the rear axle will overtake the front.
Yeah, it's happened to a driver or two, hasn't it, in the times of racing, but it does have that ability to rotate the machine if you really know how to drive it, if you're really in tune with it, and especially when you're able to set the car up to your liking. That's going to help you a lot. The bumpiness of some of these corners, you can see these slabs of concrete that are left from the old World War II air base, that actually forms the base of this racetrack. Very much still in place at some points, and it's going to be a no lap indeed here for Alfredo Tricarici. Gaston Maceroni here with about 5 minutes left now at the top of the standings. Leads it by about 1/10 of a second down to Osman Sir. But remember, it's really between Maceroni, Cucato, Barlow, and Chris Bolan in the end. And right now, well, it looks to be advantage Gaston Maceroni here, Jack. It's an interesting turn of events, I think.
Yeah, the pendulum has swung the way of Gaston as it stands, but then it's all down to what he can do throughout the race, because of course he is the driver furthest away from the championship lead at the top four. You can see he's on 178 points, so he's 8 points back from Remco Barlow. He's got his teammate in front of him, just 4 points in front, so obviously they'll want to work together as best they can to work their way away. And then what do? Do they have team orders, or do they just go, race the last round of the championship? We're both in with a shout. We've got away from the pack. Where do we go from here? So it really is a confusing one for the team. I'm sure they've spoken through it before this round and coming into the season finale. You can see Nicholas Cacato just helping him around. He doesn't have Dayglow green flashes, as I previously mentioned. He's got red flashes on that car. But it looks like they're working together in qualifying, get each other towards the front row of the grid, and then go from there. Nicholas Cacato really the driver that needs to make up the time of the two. He's got enough time to do it. He's bridged that gap a little bit and then pulled away, Hasse. So I've got a feeling this next lap that they're going on to will be a quicker one, because he's got that daylight in front of him to drive into and make the most of that draft assistance from his teammate.
Yeah, might have been that Cucato had the advantage before, and it's advantage for... or the other way around, that Maceroni got the toe on the first lap, and that's Cucato getting the toe on the second one. It looks like they've timed it very, very well here. And try and go on board with Nicolas Cucato for this lap. Now, traditionally a track where overtaking is possible, but always also sort of associated with a certain amount of risk here. A lot of the track sort of comes back at you after a corner, and it isn't the widest of tracks either, and in that regard you can be punished if you race one another too hard here, and as such I think qualifying could be important as well. Of course, they won't have multi-class traffic to deal with, as ever so often is the case here at Sebring, and that just makes everything a tad bit more complicated in the end. But on the other hand, we've seen the GT3s, especially if we get cars that carry a bit of damage or otherwise lack a bit of pace, one way or the other, can be a tricky situation that arises from it. The Cucato not really able to drive into the gap in front, it seems. But of course, it's also Maceroni's job to stay ahead of him at the right sort of distance, and I wonder if it's just Maceroni being that little bit more tightly dialed with the car. That's a fine exit from Cucato, and he hasn't set the world alight with his sector times here. It's been personal bests for most of the lap. But no purple times yet, at least until the 6th sector. It's very rare we see a track made up into 7 sectors, but it's the case here at Sebring, and let's see what it's going to be for Nicolas Cucatos. He's going to come across the line here for a 158.352, which isn't going to help him go anywhere in the standings. He's still 5th here. And with that said, I think Matthew Forrest and Timothy van der Broek has gotten a few good laps in here as well. Remco Barlow is now on the tail of Nicolas Cucato. They're going to be 5th and 6th if it stays as it is here, Jack. It's going to be an interesting race that is to come in just a few minutes' time now.
Yeah, well and truly something worth sticking around for if you're watching along at home. Make sure you let us know who your money's on to win the championship and who you're just here supporting, who you'd like to see get a good result. There's obviously lots of drivers out there and lots of different nationalities. Very much a multinational series. I'm just looking through now. We've got Argentinian drivers, Turkish drivers, of course, British drivers, Dutch drivers, Italians, American. Absolutely every nation has pretty much been accounted for, and it's been the same throughout the entire season, and not just this season as well. Since the championship's birth, it has just been a massively multinational championship, which has been great to see because it's seen new teams, new friendships formed, and it really is it's a very friendly paddock. And of course, season 4 is on the way. They are, I think they are currently recruiting the drivers and getting them in, building up the entry list. So while the spots are disappearing, I would imagine very quickly. If you'd like to get involved, make sure you join the Virtual Racing Combat Discord. Go for it.
Yeah, that is a good idea indeed. By all means, to get in there. Do get involved if you feel like racing. It's series that have grid slots, and well, do get in there. We have a few endurance that are non-championship endurance rounds that are coming up in between now and season 4 as well, so that could be interesting. Jack, I'm just looking here. Giambattista Giacchetti 10th in AM, Cody Steeg on pole position in class. So even with those 11 points separating those two, that could be a very interesting one as well. Now, of course, it is true that Giambattista Giacchetti has very much gotten most of his points from being very good at seeing the checkered flag in the races, but it's going to be a lot of drivers to have to pass under race circumstances. And it could still put Cody Steeg in a good position here. Martin de Jong gonna try for an improvement here late on. Not sure he's gonna get it. 2 other cars still out there. One of them, Chris Pio. He's come across the line in the McLaren. He's gonna be 8th in AM. Stuart Jacklin. I'm not sure that's gonna be a counting lap, but I think it is here for Martin de Jong. But is it gonna be an improvement? That is the question. No, it is not. It's going to be about 3/10 off for the Dutchman. And with that, I think we more or less have everyone in. Stuart Jacklin through Le Mans corner, down towards Sunset. It's one of the hardest corners in racing, I think. With the nature of the turn itself and all the bumps added to it, there is one very particular bump that is sort of at the apex of the corner up there. You can sort of see him. He's hitting some of it, but there's one that's just that much bigger than everything else, and such an absolute pain to have to deal with. I'd imagine so in the sim, but imagine it in real life as well, when it's a physical thing, having to go over it. I don't think that's particularly nice. Anyway, Jack, I think we're about to have the grid ready, and I would love you to take us through it indeed.
No problem at all. I did just do a quick check of the Discord. It has all been announced. Season 4 is happening. I was making sure I wasn't overstepping and announce something before it had officially been announced, but it is there. But over to the grid, Gaston Maceroni on pole position at 157.964 the pole time here at Sebring. Osman Sert less than a 10th behind for racetracknotes.app. Row 2 of the grid made up of Matthew Forrest and Timothy van der Broek, championship hopeful. Then we go back to Nicolas Cucato and Remco Barlow. Of course, Remco still leading the championship 6/10 away from Gaston Maceroni. Chris Boland and Pete Blasto make up row 4 of the grid. Rounding out your top 10, Sasso Prost and Martin de Jong. Over to the AM pole position, Cody Steig, followed by Stephen Orrell. And then the next few rows of the grid are as follows. Please, Hasse. Chris Roberts starting in 13th place, followed by Alfredo Tricarici. Then we get back to Craig Thompson, EJ Fuellner, Ari Sherwood, and Matthew Maddox. Row 10 of the grid made up of Chris Paio and Matt Sisler, Giambattista Giacetti, followed by Robert van den Heuvel. Then we get back to Stuart Jacklin and Sandro Orsini, and that rounds out your 24 starters here at Sebring. 24 cars, Hasse, one of the smaller grids, although you wouldn't think it. 24 cars around Sebring seems to be a good amount. We are in for a very good night's worth of racing, but to see, not saying that 24 cars is a bad number, but 24 cars, just to put it in perspective, is one of the smaller grids we have here at Sunday GT Masters. So it just shows the popularity of the series. And normally you see the grids die off towards the latter stages of the season, but we're still filling the grid and doing it with a very good quality of driver as well. So looking forward to the race.
Absolutely so. And with that said, we're just about to get the drivers off of the grid and onto the formation lap. Now, Sebring's still one of these old school tracks in the regard that we still have to do an entire, and at least I think we still have to do an entire lap. Is it half a lap only now? Oh, they actually did implement. Oh yeah, that's not even half a lap. That's anything but half a lap. That's actually, that's sunset, that's the final corner, and that means they're gonna go green in just a few seconds. My apologies for being mistaken. It does happen from time to time, but they're green indeed. It's a very good start for Maceroni. Matthew Forrest there in second. Timothy van der Broek there. Osman Sert's getting absolutely clustered by cars. He's cutting across there on Nicolas Cucato, who has to take it easy, I think, and so does Remco, Barlow, Chris Boland, and the 3 championship contenders that are further down the order here. They're all going to have to find some way of dealing with the man that's gotten so well away from pole position. It's Gaston Maceroni leading the rest, and I'm afraid we've had a major moment here. And look who's a part of it here. That's Major Jack. That's the M-Class championship leader for Team Gabbiano, Giambattista Giacetti, and let us see if we can just find out what has happened here on the opening lap.
Yeah, major damage on that car destined for retirement. There goes Matthew Maddox, bringing with him Craig Thompson. There is Giambattista Giacetti, rejoins the circuit and collects the Gulf liveried Porsche, spins across the road, and then it's more or less a roadblock. Everybody slows down as best they can, riding on board this time with Giambattista Giacetti, looking in front just to see he avoids that contact as best he can, and then just tries to rejoin the circuit, and unsighted, can't quite see the car through his left-hand side. I think that was potentially Robert van den Heuvel that he made contact with. Matthew Maddox there, weaving his way through the pack, and Craig Thompson doing his best to work his way through, but still leading the way is Gaston Maceroni, setting purple sectors all the way through, so even all of the cars behind, they just can't match him through the middle sectors of the circuit. Matthew Forrest sat there in second place. Osman Serd has managed to get back past Timothy van der Broek for third, so Timothy van der Broek now down into fourth. Nicolas Cucato fifth, Remco Barlow sixth, Chris Boland sat there in seventh place. Martin de Jong, a good start in that Lamborghini, up 2 places from his starting position. Dream start for Stuart Jacklin, down in 16th place overall, 5th in class, 7 places gained, but a good start from everybody.
Except for the drivers who didn't have a good start. There was a few further down in the AM field who had a bit of a calamitous start, I'm afraid. Gaston Maceroni leading by 1.2 seconds here over Matthew Forrest, who has his mirrors full of Osman Serd. And Cucato in 4th place. Someone's had a bit of a trip to the gravel trap there with... That was Cucato trying it on the outside of Timothy van der Broek, who I suspect might have tipped a few wheels there into the gravel. Behind him, Remco Barlow, then Chris Boland and Martin de Jong. Further up, Osman Serd having a look here at Matthew Forrest. Nothing more though for now. Lap 2 of 45 that is to be done here. And Giacetti has had another incident here. He's jumped to the pits this time. Let's see just what has happened. That car is massively crapping, I'm afraid. And there must have been a reason for him to... I think he picked up more damage along the way. And that could just be... Sorry, my apologies. That could just be what Cody Steeg needed. If he can keep his nose clean, because something's happened there. 3 guys up ahead. One of them is Martin Young. One is Pete Plastow as well. And Chris Robert involved. And I guess it's not go. He was already sliding as he got touched. And De Jong on his own, I think. Whatever happened there, Sasso Prosen might have been a part of it as well there. Jack, tell us what you see.
Yeah, Sasso Prosen in the Apex Tech Mercedes behind and just hooks the car around the curb there, Pete Plastow. Martin de Jong did it on his own on the exit. Potentially a quick look up into the rearview mirror to see what was going on and didn't quite get the car squared away on the exit. So looking at Sasso Prosen now, you can see Pete Plastow hooks the car on the curb and then left with nowhere to go, jumps on the brakes as early as he can and then tries to get going. And Pete Plastow, I'm sure he was on his brakes. The car just rolled into Sasso Prosen once again. Timothy van der Broek on the move, very late on the brakes, up the inside of Matthew Forrest. Fastest lap of the race last time through, a 1:58.85. And that has put him into the podium places and more importantly, even higher up the points for the championship. Let's have another look back to see what happened. So here is Osman Sert working his way past Matthew Forrest in towards turn 1. Later on the brakes, gets the car flicked in towards the apex. Matthew Forrest, of course, he will have had to lift out of the throttle to adjust for the slightly wider line, and Timothy van der Broek sees the position present itself up the inside later on the brakes, gets the car slowed down beautifully and secures that place. And now everything has swung back the way of Timothy van der Broek, and Matt Forrest under pressure of losing yet another position. Nicholas Caccato all over his tail, a look to the inside, another look to the outside. Remco Barlow not too far adrift, but he's got Chris Boland in tow. Yeah, we have indeed. I'm just looking at the points available. So, of course, Gaston Maceroni, he's doing everything he needs to do the best he can. Let's have another look back to see what happened a little earlier on. This was Chris Boland trying to work his way past Remco Barlow. He got the inside, but then it was just Remco Barlow reverting those positions on the inside and then cut back across the nose. I thought there was contact there, but he just managed to cut across the nose of the Lamborghini and remained in the position he was, which is now 6th and 7th. The pair of those two are battling over. So Gaston Maceroni, having put the car on pole position, and if everything were to finish as is, he would pick up 31 points. Let's see what happened to Craig Thompson. So there is the very slow, I think that's Martin de Jong. Yes, it is. So Martin de Jong very slow on the exit of turn 1, limping that car around, of course, with damage picked up from that earlier incident. And of course, where is now our championship leader, Remco Barlow, down in 6th place. So he would only pick up 19 points. So that would be enough, very early days, to secure the championship. We're only 7 minutes in and a lot can change. We've still got a pit window, so we're still waiting for the pit lane to open and then close once again. The right amount of fuel to be taken on board, and we've got, fingers crossed, no further incidents, just more battling on track. But the complexion of this race can completely change over the next, 36 minutes, something like that. But Nicholas Caccato sat there in 5th place, doing what he can to apply the pressure onto Matt Forrest in front, but he's got to be careful not to get distracted. Remco Barlow not too far away.
Yeah, and Chris Boland just seemingly biding his time as well. The AM class leader, Cody Steeg, actually next down on the road here. He's got Stephen Orrell and then Sasso Prosen. So the lead Mercedes at the moment is actually the lead AM car as well. Cody Steeg did say to us as well that he's pretty comfortable here at Sebring, so does certainly look that way. He might have known he's been in for a good one here. Giambattista Giachetti out of this race, and that could be the AM class decider. Of course, a lot less pressure on Cody Steek to bring it home. He now just needs to score his 11 points or more to take the title in the end.
Just having a look through to see who's really jumping out at me for the closest battles. The one we're looking at is probably the best one we've got out on circuit at the moment. The battle over the final few spots in the top 5. Matthew Forrest not too far up the road. Riding on board Chris Boland now. You can see the sun is slowly setting. Overcast conditions here at Sebring. We are going pretty much into the night. A few of the cars have got their lights on, and Chris Boland losing a bit of time through there, collecting some curb on the inside, which of course fired the car towards the curb on the outside, unsettled it. He had to come out of the throttle maybe slightly earlier than he expected, but he is just about within striking distance of Remco Barlow. He'll still pick up draft assistance whilst all this is going on. Last time through, Osman Sert set the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 58.7. and he's doing it the best he can to close that gap to Gaston Maceroni up the road, and you can see just how planted that BMW is through there. Little corrections being made by Chris Boland, running slightly wide, couldn't quite grab the apex through the penultimate corner, but Timothy van der Broek, he's just, Remco Barlow has just got that BMW absolutely dialed in, and of course with this being an evenly numbered round 10, of course, we do have the option for an open setup, so these drivers can really tune the car to their liking. Looking back now from Nicholas Cacato in 5th place, you can see just how close Remco Barlow is, having to lift out of the throttle, making sure the car doesn't run wide. Another fastest lap of the race from Osman Sert, 1 minute 58.567. But Remco Barlow, he's looking very, very dangerous in that BMW, still pushing forward, but not taking any unnecessary risk. Everything he needs to do to secure the championship.
Yeah, and that's how you gotta approach it as well. But you just gotta remember that out there, out ahead, Gaston Maceroni, I think, as it stands right now, with the points difference from 1st to 5th, could be, I'm not quite sure, but it could be that if it was to finish as it stands right now, I think it would actually throw the championship in the direction of Maceroni. Actually, Jack, if you could entertain the people for a moment or two, I'm going to look up those point standings and just to double check and to make sure that we can get our calculations right as we go on towards the checkered flag and the end of the season here.
Yeah, cool, that's absolutely fine. I think would score 31, 32 if he manages to sneak fastest lap in. Osman Sert, however, does have that fastest lap, and he is closing the gap to the leader, only 7 tenths separating himself and Gaston Maceroni up the road. So it's 48 versus 66 for the lead of the race. Just looking over at the timing screen, we've got a few other drivers slowly working their way closer together. Craig Thompson, Stuart Jacklin and Matthew Maddox for 5th, 6th and 7th in the AM class, 13th, 14th and 15th overall, all battling away. Just a few tenths separating that little trio. Already out of the draft, or jumping out of the draft, was Gaston Maceroni, pulling over to the inside, just making sure he gives as little advantage as possible to the car behind. Through sunset they will go and tick lap number 6 in the book, heading on towards lap number 7. EJ Fuellner improving upon his fastest lap, under pressure from being, he's actually already been lapped. I think he's under pressure from losing yet another lap. He's not too far up the road. Through turn 1 comes our lead duo. You can see just up the road there is EJ Fuellner, struggling for pace here this evening, of course involved in an incident just a little bit earlier on. Look how close Osman Sert is now, really starting to close that gap much quicker through sector 1, 4 tenths separating himself and the lead. Everything that Osman Sert wants, everything that Gaston Maceroni doesn't. He needs to make sure he can keep this position purely for his championship aspirations. In towards the hairpin they will go on the brakes and bouncing over the concrete, as much curb as you can get away with. Be careful not to touch too much of that grass on the inside. You can light up the rear axle and end up pointing the wrong way very quickly, even more so in these Audis and Lamborghinis. Very similar cars, built on the same platform. Engines are the same, and I've got a feeling it's just the body that's different. Hasse, do you have any news for us?
Actually, no, because I've been looking through and I haven't actually been able to find that specific bit of information. But I was actually thinking Nick McLaughlin could be the man to help us out in chat, to be honest. And make it a bit easier for us here. This is interesting, Jack, because Remco Barlow looks to have the BMW coming to him. Chris Boland still playing it wisely, I think, in the end here. And Kukato is falling into the clutches of the others. And again, all of this seems to be working the way of Gaston Maceroni, but at the same time, Osman Sert has been steadily closing the gap. Setting fastest lap again and again, 0.3 of a second over the last lap alone. And the gap's now underneath a second between first and second, so the complexion of the race changes again. And indeed, it's a very close one here tonight. Tyler, welcome too. Nice to have you along for this season finale. Very, very interesting race. Now, of course, 45 minutes of racing as usual and 50% fuel cap, which means we'll have the drivers in around the 30-minute marker of the race, and as such, we're about halfway there. Of course, the pit window, Jack, will open at about 20 minutes or so in the race. And if you're in traffic, as Chris Boland or maybe even Nicolas Cucato, or not maybe Cucato, but Barlow and Chris Boland here, my apologies, they could make a lot out of an early pit stop if they don't get out in immediate traffic, if they can get some clean space out of it. We've seen it work wonders before.
Yep, we have indeed, and I do believe you will have just received the points and positions and how they correlate. So looking at the moment at Remco Barlow, the meat in the sandwich, he's trying to work forward and work his way past Nicolas Cucato. Chris Boland, however, still within touching distance, not too far adrift, and you can see light slowly starting to cast a shadow. So it's not only the general track conditions that will change as we go further and further in towards the evening hours. Of course, the track will get colder, but also visually, it may slowly start to become a challenge for the drivers. We've still got half an hour of the race remaining, and it seems to be specifically in America. You see it a lot in the Asian circuits as well, but America, I know, can sometimes fall foul of it, especially throughout the evening hours. It can get dark very, very quickly, and you can already see the cat's eyes either side of the circuit, the little markers, high visibility markers that sort of denote where the white line is, and they're slowly becoming more and more visible, of course, with drivers having their lights automatically turned on by iRacing. I think you know it's very dark when the McLaren turns its lights on. It is usually one of the last cars to set its lights ablaze. There is Remco Barlow, still through the final corner he will go. And Osman Sert has now taken the lead. I've got a feeling that was a move in towards turn 1. He set a purple sector 2 last time through, so was really starting to close that gap. He's got in front and extended that margin, that now lead margin, up to half a second. Closes up a little bit on the brakes, but I think in towards turn 1, Hasse, is where we saw that. So coming across the start-finish line now, you can see Gaston Maceroni, he tries to work his way over towards the outside, thinking that it would be too late for Osman Sert to go for the move, but on the brakes, flicks the car in, gets the perfect apex and carries some really good momentum all the way through the corner, which allowed him to secure that position. And you can see Osman Sert 8/10 to the good now, almost 9/10 to the good, got in front and has really started to pull away already. Timothy van der Broek, he's in a world of his own at the moment. He's trying to push forward and catch on to that lead duo, but Matt Forrest not too far adrift. I think if he just continues to keep lapping and keep the car sort of planted, keep it consistent and really let the strategy play out, he could stand himself in good stead for a podium. So at the moment, still Matthew Forrest sat there in 3rd place, Nicolas Cucato in 5th, Remco Barlow in 6th. We will have a little look at our AM standings. Cody Steig still leading the AM class. Sasso Prosen in 9th, just sat behind Alfredo Trucarici, 10th overall, 2nd in the AM class. Chris Pio in that McLaren, 3rd in class. So bearing in mind that's a car change for him. Lights ablaze on that car, so you know it is getting dark. Riding on board, thank you very much, Hasse. You can see that he's just keeping it controlled, keeping it clean and allowing the race to come to him.
It is exactly how you need to approach a race like this, especially with the levels of attrition we've seen early days here. Very chaotic start, so and of course it's very easy to say that you need to take it easy and get through. Of course, I know very well that sometimes you're left in a position where you have nowhere to go, and we've seen it for a few drivers. It is such is the bad luck of racing sometimes. Pete Plastow back out on track after a 11.5 minute visit to the pit, so he's going to be way down the order. But of course, trying to pick up whatever points he can by finishing that could decide positions in the end for him. As Chris Pio comes around Sunset Corner, looking very settled here and smooth, actually, the McLaren. Lovely machine indeed. 707 as he comes around for another lap. As we're nearing the 20-minute marker here, Cody Steek has Sasso Prosen on his tail, the two teammates. Now, of course, if it comes to any kind of fighting here, Jack, I wouldn't be surprised to just see Steek let Sasso Prosen get on through and maybe just take advantage of the fact that Prosen might be able to run a little bit quicker here.
Yeah, of course, whilst they are teammates and they'll want to battle away, Sasso Prosen being the pro driver of the two, you'd expect him to work his way through either on pace, or it will allow, Cody Steeg will allow his teammate through. It's great to see Chris Pio in that McLaren, of course, and it's nice to see the championship is still playing out. I'm sure towards the latter stages of the race, maybe 5 minutes away, one of us might just have to disappear for a short while just to figure out the points and figure out whereabouts people will finish. So then when it comes around to interviews and then the checkered flag in what we've still got over half the race to go, but when it comes around to that point, when the checkered flag comes along, we should be able to announce the champion. So everybody that's watching along, if one of us disappears towards the latter stages of the race, that will be why. We're just trying to figure out the points and figure out who will be crowned champion here at Sebring. But Osman Ser, he got in front, started to pull away, and Gaston Maceroni, he might have the stream on. I think he's streaming himself on Twitch potentially. I'm not 100% sure. I know a couple of the drivers do, but he might have heard us and heard that the championship is still up for grabs, and this is now throwing it back the way of Remco Barlow. So he's really started to be pushed on. So at the moment, Remco Barlow sat in 6th place. So if we have a quick look at the points, that will get him.
Jack,
19.
we have some drama here, I'm afraid, for Timothy van der Broek, who's had a major moment, it seems. At least something that's cost him a lot of time. It's on the exit of turn 1, I suspect. Just coming through a little bit quickly, touching the gravel there. He's going to lose the car. Or is it? Yeah, it's going to snap back. And he touches the wall. And that's going to become an incident in Christensen as he just taps the tires there as well. No major damage to the car, but this is very, very costly. Now what about the rejoin? As he does indeed push a cone with him onto the track. And that gets left as well. Oh, but the car isn't too well off. It's sliding around already. Could be dirty tires. Not quite sure. We've had a problem as well for Sandro Orsini somewhere. A bit of a new situation now. That's left Cucato 4th, Barlow 5th, and Chris Boland, of course, then in 6th place. And these free positions gain are going to help, especially Remco Barlow, who's maybe just counting on the attrition rate of this race to help him up through the order. As it's done so far. Started 6th, he's gained a single position from where he started, but it's been relatively uneventful so far for him, which I think is basically what he will be looking for.
Just having a quick look at the points again, Hasse, and Remco Barlow 187 and Gaston Maceroni 178. So there's only 8 points separating them, and you never guess what the points difference is if we were to end the race as is. 8 points, so they would tie on the championship. But then you've got to think Nicholas Cucato, he's sat there now in 3rd place, so he would earn himself 24 points. So that would be 4 points closer to the championship lead than he is. And what would that do? That would tie him on points. So if we were to end the race at this very moment in time, there would be 3 drivers all on the same points. But now we're in the pit window. Matthew Forrest, Remco Barlow, both in the pit lane. So everything gets thrown back up in the air again. So it's all down to these final few minutes, Hasse. If we were to end the race as is, like we say, we would have been tied on points. But look who's leaving the pit lane in front of Remco Barlow.
Yeah, Matthew Forrest. Cut that. Just about held onto it, and look, they're gonna come out in this AM traffic, and this is exactly what they don't want. This is what can really throw the spanner in the works of your early pit stop. If you come out in traffic like this, this is gonna take away any sort of an advantage. This is gonna pass a massive advantage to Chris Boland, who's got less to battle with at the moment. Very much so for Nicolas Cucato as well. I think this might just work in the direction of those who take the decision to stay out that little bit longer. Of course, it's always a bit of a gamble, but we'll see how it plays out within the next 5 to 7 minutes or so, I think. But you couldn't make that up, could you, Jack? You couldn't write a movie that had it better. As the race stands, 3 drivers to be tied on points. If it was to remain as it was standing before, which I actually don't think it is. I think the pit stops are gonna upset things to some degree. You can see Cucato just staying out. He's not gonna try and cover it off. Of course, they're not gonna take tires in any way. They're gonna have their quick refuel, and that's gonna be it. Back out, and just to get it running as quickly as possible.
I'm just having a look as well, Hasse. I'm assuming if we have it, under the situation we do have a tie for the championship title, it would go on countback of who has got the most wins. And at the moment, Gaston Maceroni so far this season, he has had 1 win. Remco Barlow so far this season, he has had 1 win. Nicolas Cucato, there's contact there. Go on, Hasse, tell us what you see.
Matthew Forrest gone around with one of the, I think that might have been Matthew Maddox, that has collected major damage as well. Martin de Jong is out of this race, but Remco Barlow, Jack, somehow has managed to make it through that without any sort of real damage. And we're just going to see it from the perspective of Remco Barlow here. That was very, very, very lucky for the Dutchman. Look at that contact between the Ferrari and the Lamborghini. Light touch there to his left. I think he will have made it okay with that.
Wow. Flashbacks of last season with Pete Blasto, but he's got himself in front. 1 less car he has to worry about. But heart rate, I'd imagine, is through the roof. So Remco Barlow having already had 1 pit stop, I'd imagine maybe another on the cards to change the overalls, because that would have been a major Code Brown moment for himself. You can see a bit of visual damage on the side of that car. I don't think the door will be massively important to aerodynamics, and the skirt has got a little bit of damage as well, so maybe we might see a little bit of tyre degradation towards the end of the race on that car. Of course, the aerodynamics won't be up to full spec, but it's all about what the leaders do. And I was talking about countback, Hasse. Gaston Maceroni, 1 win so far. Nicolas Cucato, 1 win so far. Remco Barlow, 1 win so far. So then I'm assuming it will then go back to who got their win earlier on. And that would be Nicolas Cucato, obviously winning round 3 of the championship at the Hungaro ring. So
I'm not quite sure there. We're going to have to ask with the organizers actually specifically what the rule is in terms that the countback isn't going to. Is it going to be the amount of second places then? Could be one way to.
Really don't know, but of course this is all under the situation that they tie on points, and now we've had another massive swing. Of course, Remco Barlow, he will now be in front of Matthew Forrest. However, he will have lost time in that incident, so will he be behind Chris Boland now? It's all up for grabs. There's so much to think about. Chris Boland leaving the pit lane, very well spotted, Hasse. Remco Barlow crossing the line now. Where is Chris Boland? We'll wait to see.
He's going to get him.
He is going to be very close.
He's going to get him.
Got to go all the way around the curb. There we go, Remco Barlow in front, and if anything, further away than he was earlier on in the race.
That's actually quite interesting, because I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Chris Boland, I think, has had a pretty clean run. So even with all that drama, we've seen Remco Barlow being very, very efficient on his pit stops, on his strategy in general, and very good maybe at saving a bit of fuel along the way and being sweet with the car. But might have been what worked wonders for him this time around. I'm not quite sure. We'll see. But the gist of it is he got around and ahead of Boland as it was coming into the pit stop. Indeed, he has built a second or two onto his advantage there, and we'll see how it stands with Maceroni and Cucato as they've had their pit stops taken, Jack. I think we will have Gaston Maceroni is coming in now, but with a 7-second advantage over Nicolas Cucato, who's going to be coming in as well, so no more stretching here for the Audis, or the lead Lamborghini of Osman Sert as well, coming into the pits. 28 minutes into the race, and this is going to be the interesting one. Where are we going to have Chris Boland and Remco Barlow, this duo? Oh, they're coming into sunset now. They're going to be far off, are they? I don't think they're going to make it there, though. Osman Sert is running, so he's going to be in the lead. That's Maceroni, which we expected as well.
Nicholas Cacato still now rolling. He is on pit exit. There is Remco Barlow. Timothy van der Broek, obviously with that earlier mistake, will still be in the pit lane. I'm sure he'll get rolling in just a few moments' time, but that now has put Remco Barlow up into 4th place, which is exactly where he needs to be to complete his championship aspirations. But we've still got over 15 minutes of the race to go, Hasse, before we can crown a champion, or even think about doing so, but without having to refer to the rule book. So much can change in the final third of this race. It's Osman Sert leading the way by now over 2 seconds, so he's massively extended that margin. Jumping out of the way there, who was that? Trying to pick out exactly who it was. I think that was Pete Plasto, just working his way out of the way. Yes, it was, right the way down in 20th place, still out of circulating. Of course, it's the last race of the season.
He knows a thing or two about backmarkers getting in the way of a championship fight as well, and I think he's just gonna want to set the example, basically, for everybody else to follow, of just how you get out of the way. And that was certainly getting out of the way for sure of that battle. Maceroni 5.5 seconds, so Cucato was actually a little bit quicker than Gaston Maceroni over that pit stop. And then 2.3 seconds down to Remco Barlow. And we'll be keeping a close eye with the lap times here, since this is going to be on track that we decide this. 22 points for 4th place.
That would be enough.
As it stands, 2nd place for Maceroni, Jack. That's 5 points, and he's 4 points behind.
On top of the fastest lap point as well, which isn't going the way for him at the moment. So it's so
that's gonna be like right now. It's right now. It's getting in the way of Maceroni, isn't it? He's only 4 points behind, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, just looking, fastest lap of the race is still owned by Osman Sert, but of
bring
course
up the points again here. No, Maceroni is indeed the one. He's the only one who's 8 points behind, and as such, it's not going to work out for him. And right now, it's not going to work out for Cucato, and it's certainly not going to work out for Chris Boland as well. Cucato, though, no, that's not going to work out.
It's very close. It's very close.
It's 2 points right now, but it is 2 points in the favor of Remco Barlow should the race end as it's standing right now.
It's so tense. If you told me coming into this round that there would be nothing in it, you'd be figuring it out on the fly. At one point in this race, 3 drivers were all tied for the championship, and then it all swapped, and then it all swapped again. That you really can't keep up. But if you need to watch, if you need an advert for this championship, just watch this round back. It shows you how close it is after 10 rounds through Europe, through Asia, now finishing off the season here in America, and a multinational championship with a brilliant paddock, and they're so close on points. It really is the perfect advert for this series, and at the moment Remco Barlow really flying the flag for himself, just pushing forward as best he can in the Block It Like It's Hot BMW. Of course, that team or that car being liveried up in the WPR Racing liveries, but it's just so tense, and Osman Sert running away with it now, 5.5 seconds clear, I think, of Gaston Maceroni. Yes, he is. He's just pulling away. He's really got the bit between his teeth, and he's just doing everything he can to pull away from Gaston Maceroni, who's 5 seconds clear ahead of Nicholas Cacato, who's only 2.1 seconds in front of Remco Barlow, who's then only 2 seconds in front of Chris Boland. Look at that, Osman Sert, fastest lap of the race, a 1:58.324. I was guessing the laps would get quicker as the fuel load drops out of that car. Gaston Maceroni, a very slow lap, 2:03. So championship hopeful. It's really not going his way. He's got to hope for a mistake or something along those lines. But Chris Boland losing 0.2 to Remco Barlow on that lap. So I don't want to call it, Hasse. I do not want to call it. Not this close to the end.
I can't. I'm not gonna put my head on the block like that. I've seen too many virtual races over the line, over the ages. I was about to say over the times. It's probably the word I was trying to get out of my mouth. But anyway, I've seen too many of these things to want to call anything at this point, because it's a bit of a risk to take, right? Especially when it's as open as this one. Here we have Craig Thompson and Matt Sisseler, who tries the inside, but also, I think, takes an approach that's just a little bit too careful there. Chris Pio's dropped out of the top 3, I'm afraid. But it still looks very good, though, for Cody Steek. He's going to be the AM class champion if he can keep this up for just 11 more minutes. Plus the loose change at the end of it. Indeed, under 2 seconds now between Kokato and Barlow, and Chris Boland is sort of... Oh, he's got it's the Gabbiano Porsche.
Yeah, Sandro Orsini separating them. It's so tense after there's cars, like lapped cars in between championship battles. Of course, they don't want to be there, but they are there. There is Sandro Orsini, jumped out of the way and he is back behind Pete Plasto. There is Chris Boland firing the car in towards sunset. He lost another 10th, I'd say, 10th and a half on that lap. So once they cross the line, of course, you'll be able to see the difference in the lap time. So crossing the line goes Remco Barlow. For him, that was a 1:59.087, a personal best lap from this race. 4 tenths lost on that lap by Chris Boland. So Remco Barlow, he's not only pulling away from Chris Boland, he's decreasing the gap to Nicholas Kokato, and it's not by too much, but with now only 10 minutes of the race remaining, plus that extra little bit of time that you mentioned earlier on, 1.7 seconds, Remco Barlow, he can't get greedy. He just needs to sit behind Kokato if he catches on. There's no pressure to do anything that is really too forward. All he needs to do is finish this race where he is. As it stands, he will stand himself in fairly good stead.
Yeah. We have all of the drivers that are in contention for this title basically still in the running, at least in Pro. I'm afraid it's not the situation we've seen in AM. Got Martin de Jong telling us that we're not going to see him for a while now, and I'm sad to hear that. I certainly hope to see him back for season 4, but that might just still happen. Still a bit of time away. Of course, it is hard as well with real life commitments and work life, family, all that jazz. That has to be taken into account and giving the according priority. There isn't really any way around it, is there?
Nah, there isn't.
Kokato, though, yeah.
You just see it. So we'll keep tripping over each other, Hasse. That's how it usually goes. Kokato pushing his lights into the middle of nowhere. We may as well just keep talking over each other. There is Remco Barlow through the final corner. They're still sat in 4th place, crossing the line once again. Is it a personal best? No, it's a 1:59.198. But matching him for lap time that time through. Chris Boland only 8 thousandths quicker, so not what he needs. There is Cody Steig, just continuing to push forward. Not too much between himself and Timothy van der Broek in front, but of course that doesn't matter to him. They're in different classes. There's no major pressure from either of those drivers to keep battling away. Craig Thompson sat there 13th place overall, 5th in class. Matt Sisseler just up the road, 4th in class. Chris Pio in that McLaren, 3rd in class, 8 places gained from where he started. So doing everything he needs to do to show that McLaren has still got the pace. And then we see the Mercedes AMG Evo work its way up the inside in towards turn 1. A dragster in a straight line absolutely flies by in towards turn 1. But can he find the grip around the outside? Chris Pio does what he can over the bumpy surface, scrambling for grip. But it will be the inside for Matt Sisseler. Matt Sisseler up the inside through turn 2 and in through the complex. Matt Sisseler just manages to get that position secured. They can't waste too much time though. Craig Thompson sat there, like we say, 5th in class, not too far behind, 2 tenths. There may be a move in towards the hairpin. Riding on board with Craig Thompson now. Hasse, tell us how this will go.
I don't think he's got the run. He's going to have a look, but oh, he's going to have a major lunge, and he's going to get it all wrong and make contact with Sisseler, and this is not what we wanted to see at all. He's backed out of it, and it's not really cost anybody anything serious there, but that must have been a major scare. I was expecting him to maybe just back out of that after having a bit of a look, or maybe just making his presence known. That was certainly a bit too early on in here. Let's see if this is it. No, this is certainly not it. This is the Craig Thompson situation here from before. There we go. So, just another look at this. That was a little bit clumsy, I'm afraid. But at the same time, that could have been much worse. Look at this here! Maceroni is losing his tires or whatever is happening, but he's losing pace rapidly. He's falling off, and Kukato's catching him. And what has happened to Maceroni?
That does now throw the championship back up in the air, Hasse. Of course, that now means Kukato will pick up yet more points. Remco Barlow, last time through, personal fastest lap of the race. So he's into the 158, so 158.91. But he's now only 1.1 seconds away from Gaston Maceroni. And of course, this has more or less thrown it back the way of Virtua Racing. They can work together and continue to try and keep Remco Barlow behind. We need to try and figure this out, Hasse. Only 5 minutes of the race remaining. Nicholas Kukato on 182 points, only 4 points behind Remco Barlow. So at the moment, Remco Barlow, if everything were to end as is, would finish on 22 points, and 27 points would not quite. That would be enough. That would be enough for Nicholas Kukato. They figured it out on the fly. But
team orders here, you think, from Virtua Racing?
Potentially. Not quite what we wanted to see, but that is just how motorsport goes. Nicholas Kukato would pick up 27 points. And Remco Barlow, like we say, sat in 4th place, would pick up 22. So a 5-point difference. And that's exactly what Nicholas Kukato needs.
This is going to go all the way to the line, and Remco Barlow is going to have to fight for it, but he's been quicker than Gaston Maceroni for a long time now. And if he can keep that up, he's still got about 4.5 minutes to do it. He's just 0.7 of a second behind. Maceroni does, however, have the advantage of the toe of Nicholas Kukato.
Well, another quick lap.
Another very fast lap from Barlow there, grabbing 0.5 second on Kukato up ahead. And by this kind of pace, I don't think that Gaston Maceroni is necessarily going to be able to keep the Dutchman behind. I think Gaston Maceroni is struggling on his tires. He was perhaps seeing that I'm not sure this has been completely team orders, and maybe just, I think he made a mistake somewhere, Jack. And he just chose not to fight his teammate in it. I'm not quite sure. We'll maybe be able to become a little bit wiser after the race with the interviews. We get to the bottom of just what happened. This is... But this finale, Jack, is gonna go down with the very best of them. And just how is this gonna end here? 3 minutes from the end. And how many laps is that going to be? Osman Sert around 15 seconds up ahead. He rounds Le Mans corner now, which means it's going to be 2 more laps, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Of course, he's picking up a massive amount of points. So Martin de Jong, who was retired from the race, he won't be able to remain in front, will he? Yes, he will. He will pick up Nick McLaughlin in the championship, so Osman Sert will pick up a couple of places. But of course, this is so tense now because it's throwing back the way of Virtua Racing, and Gaston Maceroni, all of a sudden, Hasse, he seems to have found a little bit more pace. And Remco Barlow, he's only 0.7 away, which isn't too much, but we are very quickly running out of time to Remco Barlow. He needs to find something special, or pray for a mistake, or something like that. Of course, it will be ticking through all of these 3 drivers' minds. Nicholas Kukato, Gaston Maceroni and Remco Barlow, all thinking with the championship in mind. And Remco, he deserves it well and truly. Not to take it away from another driver, but he really does deserve it. It's been hard work all season, keeping it consistent, keeping it clean, and he like we saw earlier on, it took us both by surprise. He was leading the championship. He's been there or thereabouts, and it's just those consistent finishes which has thrown the championship back his way, and that gap is slowly starting to come out once again. 8 tenths now separating Gaston Maceroni and Remco Barlow. So Kikato and Maceroni working together to pull away from Remco Barlow, and now with less than 2 minutes of the race remaining, Hasse, of course, with that little bit extra heading in towards the final few laps. It's the darkness has well and truly fallen upon the Floridian circuit here at Sebring. So Remco Barlow, he's got to find something special.
He really does, doesn't he? And I don't think it really looks like it's gonna go his way. We've heard before from the virtual racing drivers that there's been no team orders. Maceroni is closing in here. Matthew Maddox in the Porsche up ahead. Could that cause that tiny bit of disturbance that could cause everything to sausage in together yet again? I think it might just have that effect on it here. Oh, and no, he's gonna get out of the way. But it did cost a bit of time. Remco Barlow is 1 second off of Nicolas Cocato at the moment. Chris Boland is 4 seconds behind these three. And they're on to the final lap now. We've got half a minute of time to go to get through here. 4.5 tenths. The Audi really seems to have the straight line pace. Although yet again it is a quicker lap from Barlow to close the gap, and he's absolutely pushing here. We're gonna go on board with the Dutchman.
Great camera angle. You can see forward. He's looking everywhere he can. Compromised his line so much, though, going through the complex, and that meant that Gaston Maceroni has pulled away just that little bit. He found so much time on the absolute edge of adhesion all the way through turn 1. I thought he was going to run wide. I think you did as well, Hasse, but he just about kept it on the rumble strip, but that has cost him so dearly through the complex, down through the gearbox, jumps in towards the apex, does the best he can to fire the car off the corner, but that gap has now come out to 3/4 of a second, so he's got to hope for something very special throughout these final few moments of the season. Through sector 2 come that trio. Still Nicolas Cocato in front ahead of Gaston Maceroni. Remco Barlow sat there in 4th place. The championship has come down to this, the final round of the championship. Round 10. They've been battling all season long. They came into this round, 4 drivers separated by 8 points, 2 of them matched on 182 points as well. Osman Sert will be heading through the final few corners, but Remco Barlow on an absolute mission, doing everything he can to chase the 2 Audis towards the line. But Hasse, I don't think it's going to be enough. Through the penultimate corner comes Nicolas Cocato, hounded by his teammate Gaston Maceroni. Remco Barlow through onto the back straight. Gaston Maceroni pulling over towards the left-hand side, or the right-hand side, just to make sure there's no draft assistance handed to the BMW. Coming across the line comes Osman Sert to take another win in the Sunday GT Masters with the fastest lap of the race again, just to secure that. Nicolas Cocato through the final corner in 2nd place, Gaston Maceroni in 3rd, and Remco Barlow will remain in 4th place. So the championship, barring any further stewards' decisions, will go the way of Nicolas Cocato. Gaston Maceroni will finish in 3rd, Remco Barlow a very hard-fought 4th, and Chris Boland will finish in 5th. We will very quickly check our maths just to ensure that that is correct, but on first glance, I've got a feeling Nicolas Cocato has snatched Season 3 of the Sunday GT Masters.
That's what I make of it as well, Jack. At least, as you said, barring any stewards' decisions or penalties or anything that might lie and wait in the shadows, which I don't think there will be, but you never know. But unofficially, I think that's going to be what we're left with. Of course, we might need a final confirmation on that. Cody Steeg has taken the AM class win. That means he is indeed our AM class champion for Season 3 here of the Sunday GT Masters. Alfredo Tricorici is going to take 2nd in AM ahead of Matt Sisseler. Here's Osman Sert. Cocato's left the track back to the pits. So sorry for missing any donuts of victory in the end there. Comes Steven Oral crossed the line as well. Pete Plastow was up there. He made it through in 9th. And picking up a bit of points there, actually, Plastow, in the end. That's probably a wise decision to go through on it and to get the car back out and running in the end. Anyway, Jack, we are left with nothing but the results of the race. And indeed, I'd like you to take us through what's happened in the pro ranks.
No problem at all, Hasse. I've just done a quick bit of working out. I think Nicholas Cacato has well and truly secured that by 5 points. 209 points are my maths. Maybe have a quick look while I'm looking through the race results for the pro finishes. Only 11 pro entries this evening. Osman Sertz took not only the overall win, but of course a pro win as well in the number 66 racetracknotes.app Lamborghini, taking the final round of the season. Nicholas Cacato, for the moment, we think he is our championship winner on 209 points for Virtua Racing after swapping places with his teammate just a few laps from the end. 15 seconds away, but takes second place. And I'm sure we will be made aware that he has taken the championship as well. His teammate Gaston Messeroni finishing in 3rd place and hounded to the line after a brilliant season and lots of action by Remco Barlow finishing in 4th. Chris Boland rounds out your top 5 for REFE Motorsports. A brilliant season from him as well. A lot of debut drivers really making their mark on the championship. Sasso Proston will finish in 6th, followed by Timothy van der Broek and Matt Forrest, the last of the finishers on the lead lap in the pro class. Pete Plastow did cross the line and finish in 6th place to pick up the final few points in the standings. And the 2 retirees from this race here at Sebring, round 10 of the Sunday GT Masters, Martin de Jong and Chris Roberts. Hasse, over to you for the AM finishers.
Absolutely so. Cody Steek taking the class win and the championship title as well at AM, ahead of Alfredo Tricarici and Matt Sisler, rounding off the podium. Chris Pio gets 4th, ahead of Craig Thompson, Stuart Jacklin, Stephen Orrell, and Sandro Orsini, with Matthew Maddox and EJ Fuellner, who rounds off the top 10. Ari Sherwood, and then Kim Battista Chiachetti, who led the championship coming into this round, of course, retiring after a turn 1 incident, along with Robert van den Heuvel. So, hearts have been broken here tonight. Dreams have been shattered. I was about to say, Jack, it's been a very, very dramatic evening of racing. I think we're about ready to pull in a few drivers for a bit of a chat.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to do it. We have to do it. We've got to bring him in. Nicholas Cacato, barring any further stewards' decisions, and fingers crossed that my shaky maths is right. Nicholas Cacato, we're going to go with it for now. Congratulations. That is not just another podium. We think that is the Season 3 Sunday GT Masters Championship. Talk us through how you feel.
Hi Jack, hi Hayes. Yeah, I believe it too. I've been doing some calculations and saw that Remco had some incidents. So yeah, by my calculations, I believe I won by just 1 point.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out on the fly. There's a bit of shaky maths from my end. We've got a feeling it's somewhere between 5 and 1 point. We can't quite figure. I can't quite figure that out. I'm sure Hasse might be able to help me along with that one. But either way, we do think you have won, like we say, Season 3 of the Sunday GT Masters. And one of the first nights we head into the night, of course, strategy was always going to play a part. Open setup as well, and the championship being as close as it was. How were the nerves heading into this round?
There were a lot of nerves, and this track was not the ones that fit me well, but fortunately we were working all the week with the setup and could find a good one, so we felt comfortable to face the race, and luckily it seems that it worked.
Well, it seemed like again one of those circuits, a Marmite circuit, if you will. Some of the drivers love it, some of the drivers hate it. But bearing in mind, like you say, this is a circuit you weren't massively looking forward to. You drove a brilliant race, of course. I'm sure throughout qualifying, we always see the Virtua Racing guys working together and helping each other along. And during the race, I will leave that up to you, however you want to describe that. But of course, working with your teammate towards the end of the race as well, that really helped your championship aspirations. And we've got to pop the question. Of course, it's been announced in the Discord. I'm sure it will be announced on social media as well. Season 4, will we see you back?
Thanks guys, see you in Season 4.
What was that? Sorry.
I was saying, see you in season 4.
Great stuff.
And well, first let me thanks Pete and all the racing company organization. Also Matthew, Chris, Renko. We have incredible fights all the season. Yeah, I'm looking forward to continue this way on season 4.
Great stuff. We'll look forward to seeing you in season 4. Thank you very much for joining us, not only this evening but throughout the season as well. Once again, another congratulations to yourself with the championship, and like I say, we'll see you in season 4.
Thanks. See you guys.
Cheers, Nicholas. Hasse, over to you.
And indeed, from one class championship to another, Cody, welcome to... Coming into this round, it was 11 points you needed to gain on Giambattista Giachetti. And you managed to do so, not only taking a class win, but due to the bad luck, of course, of Giambattista as well. Did that early incident for him take a bit of pressure off of your shoulders?
No, not at all. I didn't know, apparently, until you guys told me that I got enough points. I thought I needed... the 2-point bonus for running a clean race to even have a chance, even if he didn't do well. So that's good news, I guess.
Well, indeed it is, and well, I'm happy to break the good news then. We were sort of seeing you drive a very cool race, at a race where attrition certainly had a part to play, and Did you see what happened in around the first corners, or were you staying clear of it being a bit further up the field?
Yeah, I didn't see anything. A couple call-outs came over the team radio, so I knew something happened behind me, but didn't know exactly what. A couple of our guys got caught up in it apparently, and yeah, it sounds like it was a pretty big pileup.
And being the champion now in season 3 here, I take it you're going to be returning for season 4, and if so, would you be okay with having your license upgraded to a pro license and having to challenge in the pro ranks for next season?
Well, I mean, that's the powers that be that control that. I got nothing for the pros, definitely. I mean, I'm the tail end at best of that, but either way, I mean, this league's got good racing. We're all getting better every season that we come back. Truly, even the AM class is so close week after week. The racing here has been phenomenal. Giachetti and me traded off races quite a bit, traded spots, battled quite a bit. Orkin, who couldn't make it today, we fought quite a bit too, had some close battles. It's been definitely a great series.
Great to hear, Cody. Thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us here post-race. We're going to go and let you celebrate with the team. Before so, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout-out to here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys, it's fun to catch up on the broadcasts. And then the league organizers, Pete and the guys at VRC, are doing a fantastic job with the changes they're making and keeping the league fun and interesting. And of course, my team and our sponsors, Apex X Racing Supply, ProSimReg, BPS. Without my team and those sponsors, we put a lot of time into this, and it certainly is another level of fun that it brings into it. So.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Cody, and again, congratulations on the win tonight, and of course, particularly the overall title in AM. It's been a pleasure seeing you race this season. Looking forward to seeing you again for the next one.
Beautiful. Have a good one, guys.
You too, man. We're gonna go to the last interviewee of tonight. We're gonna go over to Jack Werrell, who's gonna have a word here with Matt Sisler.
Yep, I am indeed. So Matt Sisler, welcome to the commentary box for what is sadly the final time this season, but congratulations, a good race from yourself, finishing 3rd in class, and I don't think Orkin Kolak showed up tonight, so that does mean you have secured 4th in the championship. We just had a quick word with your teammate Cody, so we know we're seeing him back next season. Will we see you back?
Oh, that's the plan, Jack. Yeah. I'm surprised to get third. I'm happy about it, but I don't know if you guys saw it, but on lap 1, multiple incidents right in front of me, and I had to go the long way around in turn 1. So yeah, I'm over the moon to get the podium and to get third. And I had to get the podium. I had to go by Chris and hold off Craig Thompson behind me. But yeah, I'm happy to get third and secure fourth in the championship standings at the end.
Well, it was brilliant to watch, an action-packed race from literally top to bottom of the order. There was always something going on, and I was mentioning a couple of times throughout the stream that it's not just the Sunday night races that make up this championship. Of course, it's all the stuff that goes on before this. So you've got the free practice 1, 2, and 3 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, of course. And then when you come onto a race day, you've got the practice, the qualifying, and then the race. But it's more or less a community. It's a very friendly paddock. There's lots of new friendships and new teams constantly being formed throughout, and it seems like a very friendly paddock. And of course, being a driver, you will be more familiarised with that than me and Hasse. How did you find it in the Sunday GT Masters for your debut season?
Well, I mean, this was this is technically like my 1.5 season, because I did halfway through the last one. I was in the Ford, the Spaceballs Ford that you two loved so much last season. But it's just a lovely group to race with. Outside of my team, the pro guys are very or most of the time, at least with what I had to deal with, were very respectful, trying to pass you. And, if it was, I was always conscientious of where the pro guys were, because it wasn't like I didn't want to hold up a pro guy, knowing that they were, fighting their own fight. So I rarely see harsh words anywhere in the Discord or over chat, so it's a lovely group to race with, and it's definitely a reason why I'll be back next season. Fingers crossed everything goes how we need to, but if that works, and hopefully I can come back next season and give it another go.
Well, great stuff. We'll be looking forward to seeing you out, and it's obviously brilliant to hear all of the good feedback on the series. And before we obviously give you any chance to thank everybody, we'll sneak in one more question. The plans for next season, of course, it's been a very strong season from yourself. You found a lot of pace throughout, and if a couple of your teammates come back, we may see some promotions, some demotions. That could be drivers obviously going up to pro, a few of the drivers coming down to AM, so it's only going to get more competitive. Is that something you're looking forward to, or is that something you're just going to take it as it comes and see how it goes?
Well, I mean, you always want to challenge yourself, obviously. I had my strong points in the season where I looked like I could have been up in the pros. Obviously, Road Atlanta was surprisingly one of the stronger races of the season for me, running, only a few seconds off of Sander, who was, lightning fast and is probably one of those guys who's in contention to go up to pro. It's something that, you want to challenge yourself, but, until I know the classes, I can't say for sure who I'm going to be facing off with. Obviously, running with the team that I have, a lot of us were in AM this season, but, Cody is very quick in his Mercedes. He could, not to give Pete any ideas, but he could be a pro driver. I'm borderline pro after my results this season. So, it'll just be, when the next season, when we know, that'll be the time to start game planning. But until then, we'll just going to enjoy the great result and celebrate with Cody for the win.
Well, it's great to hear as well from a driver's perspective, everything that can go on in the break between seasons, and season 4 getting ever closer as the days wear on. So we'll look forward to seeing you back out, all being well. But for the final time this season, before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, everybody on this team. I wouldn't have been running where I was without these guys. Pushing myself to get better. So obviously, Apex Tech. The whole team, our designer Theo Schleret for doing these awesome looking cars, which you saw another one of today with the McLaren from Chris Pio. Obviously all of our sponsors, Apex Tech, ApexTech.supply, Base Performance Simulators, Pro Simrig, HD Anywhere, Meridian TPI, and where would we be without you guys doing the broadcast for the whole season. It's been a pleasure to watch back and see how you guys react to the action. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you guys all season. And I hope you guys will be back next, because you guys really do add a extra layer of professionalism to this broadcast every time. So more than just me doing my own Twitch stream. So I do appreciate you guys, and everybody, and of course Pete and VRC for putting on the league. But just everybody involved for a fantastic season.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm sure everybody will be massively grateful for your work, Paddock, as well. But thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you, fingers crossed, in season 4.
Absolutely, Jack. Hasse, thank you very much as well. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it, and I will see you guys next season.
Cheers, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we say pleasure is all ours indeed. It's been great, and what a season that we've had to bring to end here tonight, Jack. It's been wonderful. It's been great being able to share it with you as well, I gotta say, and I gotta say, in the end, rather sad for it to end, honestly.
Yeah, it's been an emotional season, both with ups and downs, and there's been little hiccups here and there, both in the cars and out the cars and everything like that. But it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate on, and we've got to say it again: a massive thank you to Grip Engineering and SIMRACER Coin, as without those supporting us, it simply wouldn't be possible. And of course, Virtual Racing Compound. We've managed to buddy up with those guys, and they have put in a lot of admin work, as well as everybody else in the paddock, the drivers, just generally the admins. Stephen Orrell for doing all of the Excel spreadsheets that come in so valuable to us. And Hasse, it's been an absolute pleasure, and unfortunately, I've got to say it now, I won't be around for season 4. I've got various other commitments to attend to, but if possible, it would be nice to make a little guest entry as a driver potentially, or maybe as a third commentator or a pit lane reporter, something like that. I'm not gone for good. I will be back, but I just won't be in the commentary box as much for season 4.
Well, we'll have the returning services of Mr. Ed May, who's here for season 2 as well. He'll be back for season 2 alongside me for the broadcasts here on Virtual Racing Compound. So even though we'll be sadly missing Jack, it's not all terrible, and we do hope to get the wonderful opportunity of getting you back, Jack, at some point. But I do also appreciate that you have offers that are of real life quality, so to say, and things that are just both stupid and a little bit hard to turn down. So all the best in your endeavors in the coming season. And with that, thanks so much for tuning in with us, everyone out there. It's been such a pleasure having you all along. Thank you to Grip Engineering and to SIMRACER Coin for sponsoring the season. My name is Hasse Rømer. I've been with Jack Werrell, and from us here at VRC, it's going to be thank you for this time around. We'll see you next season, and until then, take care, have fun, bye-bye.